Romeo and Juliet's Overture string bass. Hi guys, in this video we're gonna go over everything that you guys need to know for this piece. Starting from the top, first of all, the way that this piece is notated, specifically for this arrangement, is pretty weird. As you can see at the top, for the first two lines, you don't actually play anything the first time. That's why on your third measure, it says second time only, which means there's going to be a repeat at the end of measure 19, right? So, the piece is andante. It starts andante, which is very slow. We started from the top. There are like half the orchestra plays the first time, but the other half, including the strings, don't play the first time, and they only play the second time. So we do a start from the top. You're gonna hear a bunch of other people in the orchestra play their part, which is going to be different notes than what you have here, of course. Just count the measures, right? There are 4 beats per measure. C stands for common time, and common time means 4/4, which means 4 beats per measure, and quarter notes get the beat. So just count those all the way to here at measure 11, where it says play. And notice your first ending starts at measure 11 too. So you start up bow, and in this case, you may or may not, I'll let you know once we have a full rehearsal to see if you actually have to play them tied together, each 2 measures, or it would sound a little bit better if you actually played them separately. But regardless, you start up bow, dynamic stays piano to pianissimo, right? After the first ending is done, with 3 beats, 3 measures of rest, then you go back to the top. You do have 2 more measures of rest after here, but since now this is going to be your second time, you actually play everything from measure 3 this time. But of course, you don't take the first ending anymore, and you go to the second ending. So as soon as this measure is done, there's gonna be 1 measure of rest, which is the starting of your second ending, and then the rest is arco, right? So pizzicato here, you'll start arco the very first time, then pizzicato, back to arco. Now, stringendo, crescendo, which means you not only gradually get faster, but also you gradually get louder. That's what crescendo is. So you gradually get faster, like accelerando, and gradually get louder. All these notes are down bows. Make sure you do retake them all down bow. And feel free to circle whatever information you need to pay closer attention to. Again, you can highlight the words. Arco, pizzicato, they're very tiny, so it's easy for you to actually miss them. For pizzicato, you could just simply highlight it, then back to arco, highlight them, then everything else is the same. So up to this part is straightforward, very easy to follow. At 29, before I actually explain what that section is, 29, these 3 lines are the only challenging lines in this piece, to be honest. The rest of the piece, you just have to pay close attention and learn the notes. But here, not only you have to do those, not only you have to learn the notes, since it's pretty fast and the notes are a little bit more challenging, the rhythm is more difficult, you have to practice these 3 lines very slowly and correctly. What that means is that you have to pick a very slow speed first and practice it 1 beat at a time, 1 measure at a time, and then 1 line at a time. And try to absorb everything that you see on the page. You have finger numbers as well for specific accidentals to help you play them in the most reasonable way. One thing that I want all of you guys to do is to follow the bowings as you see them for 2 main reasons. One is that by following the bowings as you see, not only you're going to be able to play it more comfortably, it's going to be placed, but also it's going to be placed at the perfect location in your bow, right? So for instance, if you have two retakes that are both down bows, when you retake for the second beat, your faster notes that are very strong and energetic, since the dynamic is forte, is going to be placed right at the frog of your bow, which helps you to play forte much more naturally, as opposed to adding extra weight if you were in the middle or the tip of your bow. So following the bows are very important. The other reason is that it's going to help the entire orchestra sound unison with their articulation, which essentially leads to musicality. So that is also extremely important, to match your articulation with everyone else in the orchestra, since you all have the same exact articulation written in your parts. So the other thing you have to start looking at the moment you get to measure 29 is the sign. So as soon as you see the sign, that means that there's going to be somewhere in your music, there's going to be another sign that you have to go back to the first one, which is on your second page on here. End of measure 85. So again, you can color code this, and obviously when you perform, you just open both pages. I just have one page up so you can see it better. But at the end of measure 85, you go back to the sign at measure 29 again. Now, usually when you take something like that, when you go back to the sign, if there is going to be a repeat before the sign all the way to where the coda is, usually the second time they don't take the repeat anymore. But since this part is actually very pretty, I'd like to again take the repeat as well. So you repeat this both times you play it. Now let's talk about what's happening rhythmically. As I said it originally, you have 4 beats per measure, which means each of your beats are quarter notes. Now, this is your first beat. These 3 notes are your second beat. Now, these are your third and fourth. This is downbeat of third, upbeat and downbeat of fourth. So the upbeat of third and downbeat of fourth is this note, and this is upbeat of fourth. Let's work on it one beat at a time. This sounds like ta, 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 ta. That's it. Those are just quarter notes. This is 2/16, 1/8. Ta ta ta, ta ta ta, ta ta ta, or ti-ti-ta, ti-ti-ta, or short, short, long. However you want to pursue that. That's your second beat. Now for third and fourth, because your quarter notes in the middle has the second half of the third and the first half of the fourth beat. So let's now learn these 2 beats together, since they're connected somewhat. So rest ta ta, rest ta ta, rest ta ta. See? So the entire measure is ta 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 ta, rest ta 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 ta, rest ta ta. That's your first measure, which is measure 29. Now, good news is that the rhythm is not random, which means it repeats itself. Like for instance, this bar and this bar are exactly the same. Different notes, sometimes. In this case, they're the same notes and same rhythm. And also, you can see the same exact type of rhythm that's used entirely. For instance, there are either quarter notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, and sometimes dotted eighth, right? It's not, you don't have too many varieties. So there's only 4 or 5 sometimes that you have to actually learn, and the combination of them. So again, ta, 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 rest, ta, 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 ta. We've done this rhythm before, which you can refer to it as long, short one, long, short, short, right? Or you can also look at it as dotted eighth notes that would get 3/16 notes in it. So if you divide each of your beats in 4, 1, 2, 3 would go for the dotted eighth, and the fourth would go for the last 16th that you see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you hold the dotted eighth for the 3 counts within 1 beat, and the 16th is the 4th count. 1.5 ta, 1.5 ta, 1.5 ta, 1.5 ta, right? Again, quarter note, rest, ta, 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 rest, ta, rest, and that's pretty much it, right? Then you have 2 measures of rest. Starting at 35, very easy. You just start with eighth notes. Ta, rest, rest, ta, 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 quarter, ta, 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 ta. That's it. So just quarter notes, eighth notes, and you're good to go. Here you almost repeat the same exact rhythm actually. So ta, 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 rest, ta, 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 rest, ta, ta, ta. Now this part is the easiest part. You have, don't let this eighth note confuse you. This eighth note is still part of your first beat. This would almost sound the same even if you had a quarter note that was a staccato, right? So a staccato quarter note or 1/8 note and 1/8 rest would be your first beat. For second beat, titita rest, titita rest, titita rest, titita rest, titita. See, it just repeats itself all the way to here. You have rest ta, rest ta, rest, titita, rest ta, rest ta, and that's it. Then there's a repeat sign, which means you go back to measure 29. But you play all the way up to the end of measure 38, and then you go to your second ending, which is going to be in the next page. Half note, quarter, quarter, eighth. Very easy. In this part, so far, it's been pretty difficult to actually come right on time for the fourth beat of measure 47. So it's very important. This is what I've been telling everybody. It's very important to be able to identify where your notes are located as far as beat numbers. So if you only have 2 eighth notes within one measure, it's important to know which beat those eighth notes are written on, right? In this case, the beginning of your measure, you have a half rest and a quarter rest, and you know that you need to have 4 beats per measure. So this is your first 2, your third. So these are your this is your fourth beat, these notes. This is the downbeat of 4, that's the upbeat of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and the rest is just whole notes. So make sure you come in right on time, not 1 beat early or 1 beat late, okay? And the speed again stays the same, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, ta ta ta, and then 4 beats per each of these whole notes, which are very easy to do. Continue. Notice at the end of measure 78, you have to take the coda because it says to coda, and the coda is measure 86. But you only do that the second time. So you continue all the way down. After measure 80, which you had 2 beats of 2 measures of rest, at 81 you pretty much play the same rhythm as 29. Again, you start piano, crescendo, all the way to the end of 85, very, very loud to bring it up to fortissimo. I would say fortissimo even though it says forte, so make sure you bring it even higher than that, exaggerate on your dynamics. And same thing, same deal. Correct bowings, correct retakes, breath marks, follow everything you see. Ta, ti ti ta, rest ta, ta, 1, 2, rest ta, ta, 1, 2, rest ta, ta, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So each half note gets 2 beats, and there is also going to be a slight accelerondo as well. So not only, again, same idea as measure 23 to 28 to prepare for 29. You have the same concept at 81 to 85 to prepare again for 29, which means the speed is going to go slightly faster, but the dynamic is going to go a lot higher. Ta, 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 and then we get a little bit faster to get back to our original speed at 29. Once you repeat to 29, back to the sign, you again are going to take the repeat here, first ending first, and second time you do the second ending, and you do everything as you did the first time. The only difference would be at the end of measure 78, now you jump to the coda. Now, unlike all the other pieces that had a coda before, in this one, your coda is pretty much a note with fermata on it, right? So your coda is not necessarily the beginning, literally the first measure of the coda is not the beginning of the end of the piece, right? So as soon as you hit the coda, you actually just hold on to this note for about 6 beats. There's going to be a breath mark right after that, so a very short cutoff, and then we start a lot slower, right? So the piece starts slow, goes very fast at 29, and if you follow the tempo markings, you'll be totally fine. When you go to the coda, since you're holding the notes, there's no specific tempo for it. You just hold on to that note, and then at 87 we go to 1, 2, 3, 4 to the end, and make sure you do follow these slur lines. At the end, this is another important part that's different about this piece. For instance, compared to Dance of the Hours, if you remember, I said that as we get closer to the end, the last 3 bars, each quarter note gets a little bit shorter and the last notes is even longer. But in this case, measure 96, the quarter notes are actually longer instead of shorter. So 95, you only play for 1 beat, but 96, each quarter note is a little bit more lengthy. You hold it a little bit longer than 1 beat, so it covers over the rest a little bit. And also at 97, you would do down bow and up bow for the end. That's all there is about this piece. Just make sure you follow the fingerings that you see. These are the most logical fingerings, and make sure you do everything that you need, markings, highlight your music, do whatever you need to be able to read it not only faster but a lot more correct. That's all I have to say about this piece, and have fun practicing, guys.